up. The participants are also here, so everything that is being said publicly.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, maybe so Christoph can now just welcome us officially, and Oreo and Gladys will join us along the way.
Thank you, Pina. Good evening, everyone, again in front of your various devices. For tonight's session, packaging yourself for politics. Again, an interesting and very practical topic, I think. Everyone who's vied for any political position probably knows about the issue of packaging yourself, because you may be actually like objectively the best candidate there is for that position, but if no one believes that you are, and at the polling station, the people don't know that you are the best candidate, well, then probably you won't get elected, even though you may be the best candidate on the ballot. So that's a very crucial thing in politics, to present yourself as the best package available. And I think as we all followed the election in the US last week, anxiously followed, I assume, we've seen how important the package is, because in the US we could see, okay, there were two packages up for election. There was the moderate Biden package and the, let's just say, the other package that's a bit more populistic, a bit more harsh. So we saw those two packages up there for the ballot, and I think everyone had a preference on the package who one would have voted for. So yeah, that's what politics and especially campaigning is all about. So tonight I'm very curious to hear the experience of our guests tonight, what they think a political package should include. So without further ado, I give the word back to Kingma and look forward to the discussion tonight. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Christoph. Thank you, and everyone. Thank you, our participants, for your patience. We were having a bit of a technology hitch, which is why we started late, but thank you for your patience. We are also going to be joined by Ambassador Oreo Manduli, who also has been trying to figure out the technology on her end, but we hope that that will work okay. And Honorable Cholet, who said she'll be joining us shortly. So very, very happy to see everyone. I see Victor Tum, Stella Omiti, Mildred Ngesa, Lydia Njoroge, Lydia Gaiti, Dorcas Shami, Dennis Kipyegon, Caleb Singuti, among many others. Thank you very much for joining us. And as well, thank you, our amazing panelists for today, who's Wanja Naiton and Pina Maseno. And we'll be joined by two others, by the two others later on. And today's topic is, like about a week or two ago when we were talking about it, at the back of my mind, I was sort of like thinking about it, like, oh, it's a bit of a fluffy topic, but with everything that's been happening in the last 2 weeks, in the last few days, I've actually been thinking that this issue of packaging might even be the most important thing, even more than anything else. And that's why it's a very important reason that we have this, because for a woman in politics, first of all, politics being a place that's not a traditional woman's place, you know, the whole coming from the background of a woman's place is in the kitchen, and then also the patriarchal sort of structure that we all operate within. So in that context, the question of presentation and how a woman should carry herself becomes a very, very important thing. And a lot of women have struggled with this question, and I was talking about it with Pina about a month or two back, about how, like, when we were in campus and starting out in politics, there's the idea that we had to look like, you know, members of Mothers Union and wearing dresses down to our shoes and almost headscarf. Like, everyone knows, our friends were laughing at us. And there's the idea in which there's a concept, there's the idea that as a woman in politics, you have to be something else. But then with time that has been changing. Like, whereas that seemed to be the thing, today it's a very, very different thing. So those are going to be some of the issues that will be coming out. Issues of branding, issues of marketing, issues of do you present yourself in a feminine way, in a masculine way, issues of looks. But to begin with, I will first of all introduce our panelists so that we can know them and their background and just really what informs the kind of thinking and also the work that they've been doing in this area, because they are very much in the world of image as well as in politics and as well as really in that space of leadership. To begin with, I will introduce Wanja Knighton. She is I say that she's I usually say that I don't want to call her the Coco Chanel of now, but I'd say Coco Chanel was a Wanja Knighton of then, because she is like at such a level of extreme meticulousness and perfection and just really excellence when it comes to her styling. She's a stylist and she has her own fashion label as well. She has styled global celebrities, like people that we used to watch on TV, as well as a lot of the local dignitaries in the country today. Maybe I'll just very quickly just read her background. So Wanja is a Kenyan designer and fashion stylist with extensive experience styling both professional and political figures in Africa and North America. She has featured as a guest stylist on national television channels in KTN, NTV, Citizen, and K24. Her styling videos are aired weekly on Viusasa. So you guys write that down, you need to watch them. You're gonna learn a lot, I promise you. She has styled many iconic women in government and politics in Kenya and beyond. Before following her passion in fashion, Wanja had a career in business and management at the University of Oxford. She's a holder of a master's in business administration and is also a Kensington-trained etiquette consultant. Wanja has been responsible for creating and designing bespoke wardrobe pieces for her clients for different events. Karibu sana Wanja, we are very happy and very honored to have you here with us. And then we also have Pina Maseno. Pina is not a stranger to this particular a series of webinars of women in politics. We've had her in one of the previous discussions. And I call Pina in the lead. I say that she's in the lead of innovation in terms of trying to position women in leadership today. Pina Maseno is the founder and director of Badily Africa. And the challenges of her experience running for political office as a 23-year-old woman inspired the founding of Badily Africa. As a mentor, speaker, and moderator, she has been invited to and led global discussions across initiatives like the Obama Africa Leaders Program in Johannesburg, South Africa, the 2017 Bill and Melinda Gates Goalkeepers event, and recently by the UNFPA in Gambia on governance and accountability. Pina uses a very interesting tool of activism, and this is makeup activism, as a political tool to engage young women in a space that sums up politics as dirty business. Badily merges beauty with civic dialogues for political awareness and involvement with governance processes in Africa. Pina continues to use her voice to encourage and champion women's participation in African politics, as well as actively participate in the broader discourse of governance as active citizens. So karibuni sana. Both of you have very interesting insights, like your approach to politics and how women should carry themselves is something that you've been thinking about for a long time, both based and coming from different directions. For Wanja, coming in from the stylist direction, but then also with having a lot of contacts in the political field, in the political world, and even in the global entertainment scene, and Pina coming in as having been an aspirant for whom she recognized that image is something, and especially even when it comes to talking about mobilizing a new constituency of women. So even as our other colleagues, Honorable Sholay and Ambassador Oreo, as they join us, we'll actually just get into it. So I guess the first question really that I'd put to you, and we could start with Wanja, is why is women's image such a big deal in politics? And you also feel free to say that maybe it's not. Yeah, so for you, what's your understanding? What is this whole issue with women's image in politics?
Thank you very much, Kingwa. I think you started very well when you started by saying that politics was not seen as a place for women. And I would go further and say it's still not that they're not very welcome. Think about it. More women vote globally than men. And yet we still find that we have more males in government. And for me is the fact that for a man, there is one standard uniform, the dark suit. He doesn't have to think, what tights shall I wear? What bra do I wear with that? It's standard. But for a woman, there is no standard set of clothing. And because of that, and being that there's really women are still struggling with equality in parliament, so in a long line of dark suits, a woman will inevitably stand out. And I would further say that the camera zooms hardest on the woman because of what she's wearing and because she stands out. And the media and the public are quite guilty of picking on the woman as well. So for the woman, it is very important that she considers what she wears, whether that is going to be the start of the discussion. Let's also not forget that dress has been used to objectify, dehumanize women in many places. Think about the housing minister in France, Cécile Duflot. She wore a very beautiful, very decent, very elegant dress, but because it was a print dress and France is very conservative, her fellow members in parliament started catcalling her. And that's what I mean about you standing up because you're not wearing the same as men. That's not the only case. Think as well about our very own parliament, Sabina Chege. The minute she wore a short-sleeved dress, there were issues in parliament. So for women, image is so important because it's the first thing that gets picked on, not to edify her, but to objectify her. So whatever she wears is very important that she chooses it very, very carefully.
That's powerful. Thank you. Thanks, Wanja. The whole idea of dehumanization, and we've seen that as well in Kenya with people like the media, like picking up on people like Honorable Esther Passaris, among others. So those are very interesting points. And what about for you, Pina? What's your perspective on it? What do you think?
I think it shouldn't be a big deal, but it is a big deal because we define women as bodies first. We see them as bodies first before seeing them as women. And I think that is that is wrong. And I think we need to work towards disrupting that particular view where we first of all see women as bodies and then we see them as women. Because I mean, even when we talk about, media sexism, as Wanja is talking about, it's because we actually just view women as bodies first, And I think actually, I think the media is not guilty because they keep on promoting most of these stereotypes that we're talking about. When you talk about, let's say someone had short-sleeved, someone had a short skirt. I mean, it depends also with how the media frames stories when it comes to women, because if I can just give an example in terms of the 2017 election, especially for the women rep seat. I mean, if you saw some of the popular media stories from some of these popular sites and popular media online like platforms and gossip sites, it was more of, parading these women in a beauty ladder from Esther Passaris to Karen Nyamu to, to Millicent Omanga. So at the end of the day, when the media positions you for the male gaze, then that influences people's perception about you as a woman in politics, So, and I think for me, it hurts because if you even have to spend a little bit of your mental energy to cater to, to your body image or, to you're overconscious about your body image, you are already at a disadvantage because catering to your body image, worry and all that, it takes mental, emotional, And even just like, like financial resources as compared to a man who doesn't have to worry about that. So I think we need to work towards disrupting that and moving to seeing and valuing women as women and women who are more than bodies to view.
That's an interesting point, and just really how that the perspective you take, that it's unfortunate, but it is how it is, and it's almost like you and Wanja are almost saying, almost coming from different places. So, but maybe what I'll do is I'll ask Wanja this question: is that Wanja, because I mean, we've been speaking a lot, and I've read quite your articles about the situation. For you, is it a bad thing? Is it a bad for you? Is it that you don't view it as a bad thing, or is it that you view it as it is, and given that this is a situation, this is what we can do with it? What's your perspective of it? How should we take it? Because sometimes how we take something is what then determines our performance of it. Like, are we going to enjoy the performance, or are we going to be like, I have to wear a dress, and thank you. I'm seeing the participants raising their hands, so we're going to come to you. So yeah, Wanja, just on that.
So the way I see it is, I work with strategy. I've worked in business, and I look at it as strategy. Is it fair that I will be objectified? No, it is not. Can I use it as a weapon to get what I need? Yes, I can. I think for me is the fact of realizing what fight am I going to pick and how am I going to go about this. Unfortunately, it happens everywhere. Google right now, Kamala Harris, her outfit has been discussed, has been, she has a uniform. It's not by accident you see her in the way she wears it, because first of all, it looks acceptable, it works for her, etc. Now we can listen to what she's saying. It's because she realizes there's a bigger thing that I need to win here. There's a bigger fight that I need to fight here. So I am using my femininity as an arsenal to get the equality I am going for. Is it fair? No, it is not. But that is the status quo that we have to play with right now.
I like that you mentioned Kamala Harris. Actually, we should have had a 1 minute moment of silence at the beginning, just to acknowledge that, and that really, that even as we continue having these discussions, even as we continue just really this having a presence in politics, that continually there is movement, continually there are wins, and so we say hooray to her from afar. And I like that you mentioned Kamala Harris, because it reminds me of a conversation I was having with someone, I think it was over the weekend, and they were talking about Wangari Maathai and how the first time when she ran, that people literally told her that she looks bad. I mean, this is a bad thing to laugh about, but people literally told her that she needs to, that the way she looks, she cannot represent her. She cannot represent the constituency. Given how she looks. And it's interesting, really, just this whole issue of that one can either play the game like, okay, this is how it is, so this is how I can then work it, this is how I can do the best out of it. We're going to come back to you, Pina. For now, let me just read some of these comments. So Irene Liala says, for a woman, my capability is judged by how I look and how men will or would perceive me. For men, their capabilities come from their experience and paper. Hey, that's a very, very good point, just as Pina was saying. And Marianne Daddle says, I also think we women, we got it together somehow, and we're doing amazing to achieve our goals. I agree, and I salute all the women that are really trying to make strides in politics. Infinix Hotline says, whether man or woman politician, your detractors and the backing dogs along the way shall always be there. Petty, irksome, and frivolous. Just ignore them and march on. Magnanimity to make your point. That's Namusiule. Then Tony Mochama says, I think 50% of politics, performative art, mostly theater, but a bit of fashion, including monkey skin when being made an elder of Kuroboy. Kamala, not being dead, deserves a minute of Zoom applause, not silence. Okay, guys. Tony has said we give Kamala a moment of Zoom applause. So let's give her an applause, a moment of Zoom applause. And again, related to something that Pina had talked about, was when it comes to image, it's not always just about look, but there's also there's something more insidious. There's something more insidious, and this has been discussed on social media just recently over the weekend. And the insidious thing is the issue of sexuality, whereby a woman, a woman's sexuality becomes the center of things. So it's then, for a lot of women, it's then the question of, should I cover it all up, like dress like a nun, or should I go the opposite, do the whole slay queen thing? So, Pina, from your experience, where does a woman's power lie? Does a woman's power lie in sort of no makeup and headscarf and long dress and baggy dress, or does it lie in the more sort of glamorous, sort of trendy look in our politics today, from your experience on the ground?
Wow. I just feel like, I have so many things I want to say about that, Kingwa. But I think I want to say, first of all, for me, and like I said, this is a personal opinion and also part of the work that we do at Badily. I have a problem with the fact that this particular space requires you to tone down on your femininity to be accepted, and does not require the same of men. So I really, really have a problem with that. And the fact that we keep on fueling that in terms of, you need to tone down on your femininity, you need to look a certain way to be accepted. You need to minimize some of the things that you like or you enjoy doing to be accepted. From my personal experiences, I mean, by the time when I was running actually for office, I was like a staunch SDA, right? So of course, even my my outfits, but still I was required to tone down, on my, to really, really tone down, have a particular hairstyle to be accepted, and I think it's even something I still said last time, politics has a hairstyle, politics has a language, politics has a look, and it's not female, it's male. And if we don't disrupt that, we normalize it even for the women who are coming behind us by telling them they cannot show up the way they are. You know what I mean? So I did all those things. Did I win the seat? Okay, fine. So I actually toned down on my, to feed on people's expectation or the society expectation of how a woman should look like. So did that, did I win the seat based on that? No. And the fact that when it comes to the political arena, it's the only space where it's like intelligence and beauty are mutually exclusive. It's problematic. It's problematic in itself, that when you come into the political space now, you cannot be, you cannot look good and be intelligent at the same time. But in any other space, you can do all that, So I don't think, I think it's unfair to minimize who you are. And I'm not saying that, you probably need to show up maybe in something too short or something. I mean, just who you are, just normally just who you are. I just don't think it's fair for you to minimize who you are and to keep on feeding onto that. Because for me, even with the work that we do, let's say at Badily Africa, to ensure that we target young women who are disillusioned by politics and to ensure that they don't have to tone down on the femininity to come into this political space to be accepted, or you cannot come into this, we don't want someone to feel like because they have a belly ring or because they are, they have eyelashes or they have tattoos, they cannot come into a civic dialogue because of how they look. Because most of the time, that's how you feel like. You feel like this is not my space. You know what I mean? And that is why we adopted our strategy of actually merging beauty with civic dialogues to target especially those girls who would not be caught near a political, a politically oriented conversation. So I think for me, I still push back, and I feel like the more we normalize and feed onto this status quo and the objectification of female candidates, the more we make it harder for younger women, who come behind us. And we're even having this discussion just right now on our WhatsApp group, and some of my peers that I talk to and that I work with, let's say, and I think I've also again mentioned it before, with Nerima Wako and let's say Shiko Kihika. So why is it that we think they're intelligent? And yes, they are intelligent, but then when they come into the political arena, we feel like, no, they cannot have blonde hair in the political space. Yes, we've been applauding them in the civil society corridors, but then when it comes to the political space, we feel like, no, I don't think they're good enough. And the fact that even character issues are tied to your appearance. So if you look beautiful, you're considered to be, let's say you're a loose woman, or maybe you have many boyfriends, or you're sleeping around. The fact that even character issues is directly tied most of the time to your appearance when it comes to politics. And no one judges you perhaps like that when it's such in a political arena. I think we need to disrupt like a lot of that. And we cannot do that by normalizing or doing things the way like we have always done them rather. I don't think we can. And plus, like you just said, this coming election, right? We have, just going by the census that was done in 2019, we're going to have like about 6 million, is it 5.29? Yeah, first-time voters. The bulk of that number are young women who like expressing themselves whichever way. So the more we keep on even talking about, or rather saying, you know what, we need to, like do this. I mean, I don't know. I find it hard to embrace masculine tendencies to be accepted.
I think that most of the issue here, sorry, may I jump in, is we need to realize, as you were saying, it's not a matter of you becoming male, it's a matter of you becoming female and owning your space as female in the male arena. I'll give you an example globally of Hillary Clinton. You remember very much when she was coming into politics, her style, the way she was being viewed, it was being viewed very masculine in the way she was presenting herself. And what that happened, she had backlash from the men and the women who thought that she was too intimidating. And then she worked on her image and she won more and more people onto her side. It's not, you can never win in a game where the men are determining most of these things. You can never win by being more masculine. You can only win by being who you are, and that is female. And using that as you're realizing that this is the weapon that I have and that I can use, and knowing how to use it.
So Lydia,
I just have, I think, and I agree really with Wanja. I think for me, it's more of how do we push back more in terms of societal perception, expectation of women. I mean, the very fact that we're even having this conversation, I rarely see a conversation about how should men package themselves in politics. The mere fact that we're even having this conversation, like packaging yourself for politics, why are we having this conversation about packaging yourself, but the mere fact that we're even having these conversations, men barely have this conversation, right? About how do they package themselves for politics. That in itself, you see, I think my pushback is actually in more of how do we accept women coming in the way they are and not having to shift, because even the more you shift, and I even like the example for even Hillary. I remember even there was like a time, I saw a Daily Mail like headline for Hillary, and it was so interesting. They're talking about will her grandma's green, like her smile cost her her election, and I'm just thinking, the fact that we prioritize on women's looks over their policies is problematic.
It is. Lydia Gaiti says, I have a feeling we are overemphasizing this image thing. What period of politics are we talking about? Martha Karua has made an impact in politics and definitely nothing to do with looks. Women need to make a mark on more substantive issues than image. Jen Kiragu says change is incremental. Unfortunately, women's style being determined by male standards should not silence women. Smart and elegant, not extravagance, is key. We need to speak more firmly and use our voice to begin to reshape the focus. Then Easter Acheng says personal imaging and color exudes personality, bold or understated. What is one's essence? How do we shift the way women are undressed while dressed? And then Tony Mochana says, I think there's been a slow but steady spectrum shift on this from the grace of God, female legislators of yore to take heads down the line where we have the unapologetic in both dress and manner, slay legislators, a la Waruguru, Sabina Chagas, Pasarises, etc. Thanks for that. I want to go back to Lydia, talking about overemphasizing this image thing. Actually, to be honest, Lydia, if you have been in politics, you will recognize that image is is actually even more important than your policies, is because as a woman, when you go out, the first thing people will start talking about is not, first of all, it's not even your achievements. It is not about, they will not talk about you might be invited for an interview on TV and you talk very intelligently, but people will just dwell on your sexuality, on your look. And in relation to image, that's the issue of sexuality. And I want us to also just entrench that in this discussion, because both Pina and Wanja have talked about dehumanization and how politics can dehumanize you as a woman, and for me, I can tell you for sure that one struggle I had, and a lot of women have had, which is why Pina has actually had to come up and set up a whole institution, is that the feeling that as a woman you cannot be yourself in politics, the feeling that there's always something wrong with you, the feeling that you're, first of all, you're wrong, like you're in the wrong place. And so, and this discussion has been had previously, that it's about one of the challenges for a woman getting into politics is the need to create her own space, And if as a woman in politics you have not been able to create your own space, you have not been able to win your power, then I'm sorry, you will not be effective. And part of the winning your power is about owning your capacity to be you. Like for me with all my blondes and my everything, this capacity to be by myself, to be me, and to be unapologetic and to encourage other women, is because I had struggled with it. I felt like I had to be something else. I had to pretend to be something. I had to like stifle myself. And Pina went through the same thing, which is the reason why she set up the kind of the organization that she set up and what they're doing. So it's that a big part of politics is how it wants to make women, the Madonna or complex, like you're either this or that. You're either the loving motherly, or you're the aggressive, hostile, and these are issues that you mentioned Martha Korea, but it's actually something that has come up in discussion, that whereby she's discounted. She said that she's called the only man in Mwai Kibaki's. She was called the only man in Mwai Kibaki's government, but then at the same time she was excluded intensely from Mwai Kibaki's government. So those are issues that until we deal with them, until we recognize that that the image is not just about the clothes, but even about the perception of yourself as a woman, and how the energy, the essence, it's something that will continue to plague us. Esther Achieng says the challenge is patriarchy and how it boxes women and girls through neocolonization of thoughts about how one should look. Aisha Wamboi says, I agree with Wanja, authenticity is key. Dress according to your style, what looks good on you, keep it appropriate, modest, feminine, and less about trends and fashion. That way, the focus is on your qualifications, achievements, and what you have to offer. And this discussion is actually going to be related to the one that we're going to be having on the 26th, which is about the representation of women in the media. And we're talking about someone like Karen Nyamu, who is a lawyer with a lot of very good, she has, like, you read about her CV and you're like, wow. But when you see what the media talk about her, it's always about her looks, about whose girlfriend she is, about that kind of thing. But maybe I'd like to bring in our panelists once more and ask them, when a woman is, when the public tries to peg a woman only according to her looks and according to her sexuality, how should one respond? What is the best way to respond? Should we ignore it and pretend it's not happening, or should we face up to it and say and like demand some kind of accountability? What's the best way to approach it, Wanja?
I think this is difficult. I remember what Wangari Maathai said, that from the moment a woman decides to run for public office, there begins the neck down politics. How many children? Are they of the same father? Is she still with the same father? What does she wear? All those kind of things come to play, which do not come to play with men. And I think it's very, very difficult for a woman to deal with it when you have the media speaking one thing and you have the public speaking another thing, which men really do not experience. But I also think that you can use your voice, you can use what you do to actually speak your policies. It's not just about what you're wearing or how you dress, it's also about how you speak as well, how you present yourself when you're working in your policies and in the projects that you're creating. And I think that is what most women, I would say, you cannot escape from it. It's gonna happen. It's going to rain. Either you get drenched or you don't go out. It's up to you, whichever way you choose. You can take an umbrella, you can decide what it is that you're going to do. But it's also realizing that that's not a reason to give up. We have the women in the 80s, and I think we've had this discussion with you, Kingwa, over and over again. That crop of women we saw in the 80s who really paved the way, the ones who brought us feeder, and you look now, what's going on? Those women, does it mean they were not dehumanized by what they were wearing? Or is it because the social media has come, we are more aware of what they are wearing? But these women achieved a lot, the Wangari Maathais and the Mother Karoas and the women who really fought and paved the way for this. But I believe that they experience the same issues that are going on now. I remember a story of an MP in the UK who was called Sherry Williams. And because of the dehumanization and quite frankly, sexual assault that was going on in Parliament, she created a movement where she told all the female MPs, wear heels. If they come to pinch your bottom, just step on them in your heels. So they found their own ways of defending themselves, but making sure that their message was heard.
Pina? Yeah. Oh no, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I think it's actually interesting that you're actually, like mentioning the media. And I think for me, most of these stories, we actually get to learn them from the media. And for me, I think on a personal level, like media sexism literally like worries me a lot, because most of the time, like biased sexist media coverage hurts female politicians a lot. And it impacts like how people just view women in leadership, ultimately, or rather generally just diminishing female leadership. And I'm actually, like glad, like Mildred Ngesa is on this call. I'm just like, oh my God, I wish she could just be a panelist, because I learn a lot from her. I think she should like be a panelist actually on this conversation about communication, about the media. She does amazing work. And thanks Mildred always for supporting what we do at Badily as we try to normalize it. For me, I think we need to keep on questioning and monitoring the habitual coverage of female politicians and pushing back. I think there's a lot to do when it comes to that, because like I said, most of these things, even like what Wanja has rightly said, whether someone was, married, are they still together with them? Do they have, you get to learn them from the media, you know what I mean? And, so I think for me, we constantly need to really monitor the habitual coverage of our female politicians and literally like push back on that. But also for us as young leaders is to constantly just share, your policies, your achievements, or rather what you want to do, and just try and stay on top of the distraction, because like I said, most of this distraction really eats on your, on your mental energy, or eat on your emotional energy, and at times even your finances as you try and sanitize your name. And if you really have to take that route as a, as a leader, you're already at a disadvantage, compared to someone who doesn't really, who has to really focus her mental, her emotional, and her financial resources their financial resources to just one thing. So is to push back against the distraction, but also just to take personal responsibility, and also for the media to take personal responsibility as well in terms of how we cover these stories, if we are to promote gender equality, because I feel like there's a lot that can be done on the media, the media can do to promote gender equality and not fuel some of these stereotypes that we are talking about.
Really strong points. Mildred, I saw you put your hand up, so I've allowed you to talk. And I think there were two other people that had put up their hands. We'll also give
Mildred
you time
to be a panelist.
Yes.
Hello. Can you hear me, Kingwa? I hope I'm clear enough. Can you hear me? Thank you so much. I'm honored. Pina, you mentioned my name when I was thinking of raising my hand. I am so honored by you guys on the panel. And Wanja, I affirm you. I affirm all three of you for these conversations. But you're talking and I'm thinking to myself, my goodness, patriarchy is such a bane to us as women. When they wanted to shut down women, when patriarchy wanted to shut down women, they said, let's make all of them pregnant for 9 months so that they ain't talking, they're carrying their babies. When they want to shut us down, they say, let's talk about their beautiful legs when they walk up the podium. Let's talk about their bums in their tight skirts. Let's talk about their bosom when they're wearing those clothes that reveal. When they want to shut us down and to keep us away from focusing on our ideology as women politicians, then patriarchy distracts us. Now I hear you talking and I say, okay, it's very important to discuss our image and dressing, but my heart is bleeding for our ideology as women political leaders, because when they are done unpacking how we look, they don't listen to what comes out of our mouths, because it distracts our focus about who we are as political leaders. And so it dissuades us from capturing what our ideology of leadership is. And they win all the time when they do this, and that's terrible. But you see, those who are defiant in the face of patriarchy stick out a finger, and if you were to see me, you'll see me doing that obscene sign. They stick out a finger at patriarchy and say, let them talk, they will talk. Let them abuse, they will abuse. Let them pinpoint what I'm wearing, they will pinpoint. But I've got something to say, and I've got a vision to pursue, and I've got an ideology to bring out to my people, to transform my people, and I am here for it. I am enough. Now, I think when we address it in that way, first of all, firm up the base of our ideology of who we are in this leadership and where we are going and why I am, that I am enough. And I am aware, I'm extremely aware that I'll get up to that podium, they'll see I'm wearing a red dress, they look at my bum and how it's shaped, they look at the shape of my legs, they will point it out on the media, on the front page. I mean, the images that come to me, remember when Honorable Charity Ngilu, fighting for president, we are running away from Uhuru Park at that time. I remember the tear gas and everything. And the picture on the front page is her beautiful legs as she lifted her skirt, running away from the tear, forgetting that this is a presidential candidate. She has something to say and she's making a statement. But that's not all. They've even said that to Angela Merkel. They look at Angela Merkel, the caricatures actually tone her down, but she's a powerful woman in the world. But let me tell you, every time I see this kind of approach from patriarchy, it is like a bell ringing in my head. Focus, don't forget your ideology, speak it out, push it out, let them talk. So I think, and these discussions are affirming, that they're important, they're critical. I think that in light of discussing this, the defiance that should come out of discussing image for women is the defiance of, look at the package, comes as it is, and yes, power, and I've got my face focused, and I know where I'm going, and I am a leader, and this is what I am made of. I love it. I pray, I plead that whenever they caricature you, Kingwa, or Wanja, or Pina, when you're on that podium, you come and bowed nonetheless. That, they said my dress was too tight, Come and bowed, lift your chin, and say, as I was saying, about the transformation of this country, why democracy is actually, if we do that and remain the defiant Kamala Harrises of this world, because we need it, then we remain focused on that. You know, patriarchy pushes us, distracts us from focusing on our ideology. Imagine. But it's important to discuss these things, but don't you see that when they sit in their men clubs, they actually do not even discuss their shoes or their ties or their whatever. They are strategizing on how to clamp us down. I see it. I see it. This discussion is important. I'm smiling to myself and I'm saying, oh, go back, please plunge back to your ideology. What's driving you? Why do you want to lead? What are you bringing to the table? Who are you? What do you want to become? What is it? Plunge back, listen to it, but plunge back. But I'm here for it. I'm listening, my sisters, and I'm in solidarity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mildred and Bina, for mentioning her as well. I love your fire, and I love that you're reminding us about the ideology for women as political leaders, and how this kind of focus on the image distracts us from following our ideologies. And it's the interesting thing about it actually is that it's not even that is that a lot of the time it's mischievous. Like I think we all remember there's a front page, I think it was on the Daily Mail, where I think it was Theresa May and either Angela Merkel or someone, and like they were just sitting having a meeting. They were in like dresses or skirt suits. I mean, the dresses weren't even short, but like the headline, the headline was literally about their legs. And so is that remembrance about how
Kingwa, to remind you briefly, Kingwa, the headline was "Forget about Brexit. The battle is for the legs." Can you imagine? You see?
Yeah.
So,
and
we have to be alive to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And so it's just to remind us that it's actually particularly worse in this part of the world because if you're not aware of it, if you're not aware of it, it can easily intimidate you. It can easily distract you. Another strategy that's used is again going back to the whole sexualization and how, because when your family members are see that you are in the spotlight, that the public is saying things about you, that there's sort of like there's a way in which they will want to sort of like try to start telling you, you should not be doing this, go a bit slowly. And like just recently, there was a lady, someone was talking about it on Facebook, about a Ugandan lady who had to step down because her in-laws told her that with all this attention that's coming, all the things that are being said about you, in fact, they actually told her that she has to stop using the name. But you see, like those kinds of things that then distract you, like you're saying very, very well that you're saying, Mildred, about it distracts us from following our ideologies, from following our vision, from following our goals. And these are challenges that men do not face, and that if we are not aware of them, that they can very easily shake us and leave us unsteady. Wanja, Bina, if you'd like to say anything on that. But I'll also read, Jane Kiragu says, perhaps we may need to track and celebrate those in media who positively cover women leaders beyond objectifying. This way we get criteria for gender equality within social communication. Very good point. Infinix Hot 9 says, forget it all, big ideas are the currency of politics, nothing doing thereof without great ideas. And then, yes, Jane says, thanks Mildred for reminding us of ideology. And Infinix says, going spiritual is another big plus for power and strength in politics, irrespective of gender. And so just with all this happening, what should we do moving forward? And I know, and one of the things I really love and respect about what you're doing, Bina, is that you're addressing this issue head on. You're not, because I think a lot of us just chose to ignore it and sort of like came up with our own ways of dealing with it. But for you, you're very conscious about it. And I usually say that you're paving the way. You're setting the captives free. And even with the makeup activism that you're doing, you're also making politics cool. And one thing that I really like the concept of is alchemy, and the question of how do we make something that has continually been used to bring us down and to beat us down and to sort of like become lead to our downfall. How do we alchemize it and use it to our advantage? And I see, Bina, that's one thing that you're doing. That's one thing that you've realized, that when women are in politics, there's a spotlight on you. So you've managed to figure out what more can I do with it. But so maybe the question would be to Wanja, what else can we do with this? I like the analogy you gave that if it's gonna rain, it's going to rain. So you know that it's coming and you expect it. But I feel that we haven't scratched the surface. I still feel that there's a lot more that we can do. That this is manure, this thing that keeps on beating us down and we keep on complaining about, that there's more that we can do with it. What do you think? How more can we harness it and weaponize it even?
I think already as a woman, because the minute you dare to stand for office, the spotlight is going to be on you. The minute you've packaged yourself, we've stopped talking about that. And that, for you, you know that there is a message I need to get on with. There's my policies, which I am talking about. There is the work. There is the reason that I stood for office. And I am not going to be detracted by all the other things that people are saying. And I think I like what Mildred said. Let us not forget why we are standing here. It's breaking that glass ceiling. It doesn't mean that these other things are not going to come our way. They are going to come our way. It's knowing, how am I going to handle them? Am I going to get distracted by people writing what I am going to wear? Like you were saying, it was about Brexit. It was who wants the legs on. I don't think they got distracted by that. I do remember very well when the Scottish minister went into power, she completely rebranded herself. And she changed her haircut, she changed everything else. And suddenly, that is not what was being picked on. They completely quickly forgot, and her message started coming through. And she is a very strong leader and demands a lot of respect. But she realized, that is something that you're going to talk about. I am not going to give you a chance to do that because I need you to listen to what I am talking about. There's one of my favorite saying by Coco Chanel is, something in regards of when you dress well, people remember the woman. When you dress shabbily, they remember the dress. And once you packaged yourself, and a lot of women who've gotten really ahead, they've realized that is a weapon of my femininity that I am going to use. I know nothing about it. They bring in a barrage of stylists who completely revamp them. They get on with what they know how to do best. And you, as a political woman, get on with what you do best. So that is where you need your team together, which is helping you to make sure that what made you stand is being heard. I don't think any woman stands for political office just so that they can be talked about who the father of their children is, or how many they are, or whatever is that they wear. But realizing that will be the discussion and getting it out of the way very quickly so you can get on with the job that you have.
It's a really, really good point. Lydia Gaiti says Njokindomo made her mark through the sexual offences bill. Who cared about her image? That's a good point. Mary Odhiambo says, please delve more deeply into packaging. I believe it starts right from the moment you decide to run for the seat. Psychologically package yourself as an individual. Then the family will do their part, then on and on. What else does it entail other than dressing? I believe so much. Stella Omiti asks, do we have spaces where we can nurture women interested in politics but scared of taking the plunge, especially the political ladies? In Phoenix, and I think that's Namusile says, going spiritual is another big plus for power and strength in politics, irrespective of gender. So it could be that this issue of packaging and image and sort of like being easily destabilized might be something that affects younger women more than it would affect the older, more seasoned politicians who've sort of like gotten to the place of, whatever, say what you want, do what you want, I'll just do me. And it's interesting because it's the same thing that we see in the entertainment space when when we see the younger artists sort of like having meltdowns and being unable to take all the public scrutiny. So it could be that it is a younger woman issue, and maybe that would be why for Njokindongo she was at a place of a certain level of maturity, but that for the younger women, it is something that does come out a bit. To answer Mary's question, Bina certainly has been doing quite a bit in terms of trying to get more women into politics, trying to nurture women in politics, and as well as the Akili Dada. Akili Dada has been doing mentorship as well as training. NDI does training of women in politics and doing training of women in politics, and I think Crew as well as a few others. Tony Mwachama mentioned something about theatre, about politics as theatre, and that's something that I think is worth holding on to, because it, because for me, I'm not good with angst. Like I can't be on angst all the time. Like I want to do something that I'm enjoying and that I'm like reveling in and that I'm in my element in. And the aspect of theatre and politics as theatre is something that I think is important to keep in mind, even as you are in politics, as whether as a woman or as a man, because it sort of like enables your juices to keep on getting rejuvenated and preventing burnout. So maybe the question would be to Bina about the question of image and political theatre. Like, what have your observations been on that? One of the panelists that we had hoped to have with us was Oreo Manduli, who a lot of us remember that. I mean, she's a lady that she has been active in politics as a political activist, but she never really per se got a position. But she has continually been unforgettable, you know. And when I think of her, I remember that 48 Laws of Power caught attention at all costs. So for you, Bina, how do you factor in the aspect of political theatre and the aspect of image? Is that something that interests you at all, or is it just whatever, man? I just need to focus. I just need to do what I need to do. For you, how does that play out for you?
Wow. I think first of all, I want to say Mildred really summed up most of the things that we were saying in a very powerful way. I feel like once you really understand who you are, your identity, and why you're actually stepping up into this particular space that does not welcome you, does not want you, and is hostile to you, it helps with actually dealing with all this distraction, because you are going to get this, you're going to like face all this distraction, be it on when it comes to image, when it comes to your parents not supporting this, be it the political parties, be it the fact that the media will be on your case, be it the fact that there'll be public scrutiny about who you are and the fact that you're not good enough, whether it's the media coverage of your looks, your family, your relationship. Like, first of all, as a female politician, it's quite unfortunate that you always have to brace yourselves for this. To just start with, you always have to brace yourself for all these things that I've mentioned. But I think just understanding who you are, and like also Mildred mentioned, the ideologies and your identity. Like that should be like what anchors you, such that when you actually face all these, you're not shaken, because when you're not anchored actually on these things, and then like let's say what happened to Karen, her CV, like, so like she has a brilliant CV, she's a lawyer, you know what I mean? And then we saw what happened in 2017. There was like a viral video of supposedly her, like a vixen, like those dancers and all that. And you're running for office, and then people are circulating that video, and and you have to like spend resources to to try and, one, sanitize yourself if it's true, or two, trying to push back against that narrative, while someone else who's competing with you, maybe for the same seat, is getting ahead of you. But I think for me, understanding who you are, being anchored on your ideologies, ideas, what you're pushing. And I think for us, what we do is that we do not want you to start feeling like you need to tone down on your femininity fast. We don't want you to like feel like you need to tone down. Like it's more of calm the way you are, because you're gonna face the public scrutiny anyway. You're gonna face it. I have a friend of mine, I think she vied, is it in the last election? And she was trying to fit into, what the public expects of her. And, and she's not necessarily, okay, she's average. Yeah, she's a youth, she's average. And I remember for her, because you're vying in a country, you don't want to look like like it's like when you're slender, you probably you're poor or something. And she really, really ate. And she always gives this example that I used to eat to grow fat so that I can actually, first of all, be accepted. And she gained a lot of weight, because she was running for a political seat, on top of selling her agenda, because she's very, 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 very brilliant. So I think for us, it's to push back on such things, like, what, come the way you are and just sell your agenda, sell your ideology, understand who you are, so that you're not shaken by all these things. Because you see, my friend actually didn't win in the 2013, is it 2013 or 2017 election? And then now you have to battle, now losing the weight again, because in our country, they were like, wakati umejaa vizuri unakaa, unajua uko na pesa. You see what I mean? So I think for us, it's trying to say, how do we normalize the ground for everybody and not leave others behind because of how they look? And maybe also part of our work is more of speaking to and looking at young women as voters and how they understand the women agenda, because there's also been a lot of effort in trying to, of course, increasing women's representation in political offices. But then we can't look at that in isolation. So how do other younger women, or just women generally, how do we also nurture younger women as voters to understand the women agenda and support the women agenda without just working with female aspirants alone in isolation? And then when you go to the community, like I always say, unapata ground is different, so you've been empowered, you've gone, you've gone through all this, all these programs, but then you get to the ground is different. Your peers, your other women don't even understand the women agenda and why we should even support another woman. So I think for us, it's also been more, even for the strategies we are using, it's been more of how do we also cultivate the ground for the women who are running, and also just nurture women's understanding and raising their civic consciousness as voters.
Amen. I love what you're saying and what you're doing, which is particularly not just equipping the women leaders, but also doing something about the environment, because the environment at the end of the day will be the most, will affect things the most. So that's very powerful. And as you were talking, I remembered something that comes up time and time again when it comes to women in politics, and that's the issue of marriage. That the issue of marriage, a woman's marital status, is part of her package, part of her brand, part of how people will relate to her. Will they relate to her as someone? Will they see her as someone respectable? Like how people brand a woman. And there was someone giving the example about how, like, some women in politics have literally had to rent husbands or partners, like just to appear to be seen with someone, because there's a lot of scrutiny always paid to a woman's personal life, way more than there is paid to a man's life. In fact, I mean, we all know about the double standard. We all remember there was a story sometime in the 2000s about the male politicians who were found picking up women on prostitutes on Koinange Street, sex workers. But nothing, like the men were like heroes, like at the end, coming out of that. But any woman that gets into some sort of scandal, like it's like automatically it's over. It's like over for her. So the woman is always vilified for that, but then the man becomes a hero. So Wanja, how should a woman navigate that? Because that's something that every woman in politics have to learn how to navigate. It's sort of like a catch-22. If you're married, you're told that, oh, you won't have time to take care of your husband and your family. If you're not married, you're told, oh, you need to, first of all, you can't be a good leader because you're not married. So that's a question that I will say all women getting into politics are going to face. So what is the best, how do you deal with that? Because it's very easy to get either annoyed and like, what does that have to do with anything? Like, the Pope is the leader of the Catholic world and he's not married. Like, so what is the way to deal with it? Should we rent husbands? Should we I mean, or partners, or should we ignore it? Does ignoring it have become an issue? So how to deal with that? Because it is again part of the whole issue of package and how the constituents will perceive us and how our opponents will use that against us.
I think you raise a very important point, and it's what Pina was saying, that things on the ground are different, which is very true. And remember, I started by saying women vote more than men, yet we're still fighting for equality. So who is judging these women who dare to stand up? Who is judging these women who have probably been the single moms, who have pulled double shifts in bringing up their children? And yes, instead of looking at that, oh my goodness, she has done that and that and that by herself, without the assumption of, oh, she always needs a man. Is it the men doing that sometimes, or is it the women still doing that? Are we doing that to ourselves? I don't think I have a real easiest answer to that. And I would quite honestly say, just be yourself. You cannot be anything different. If you have been the single parent who stood there and brought up your child, be proud of it. Because if it was a man doing that, it would be like, wow, can we give him a prize because of what he did? Exactly. Whereas for a woman is, oh, she cannot keep a husband, you know. And those are the things that are said by women without even asking ourselves, maybe she had a legitimate right. I remember very, very well the first time Mother Karua ran for elections, and she was my local MP. Her name was Mother Njoka. By the time she was running the second time, she had changed back to her maiden name. And I remember during the campaigns how much vital she had, how much she really had to be so strong and to stand up. This was a constituent where there were two men who had been running since independence. And it was either one or the other, one or the other. And here comes this very young woman who is trying to unseat them. And she successfully did that. And even when she then changed back to her maiden name, she won. I think for women, you just have to realize, this is who I am. These are my policies. This is the reason I am standing. Yes, you will discuss all those other things. You will go to the neck down politics, but this is who I am. Be honest with yourself. You cannot change yourself. This is who I am. If you've brought up a child by yourself, be proud about it. Be proud about the mistakes you've made before. Just stand up and be yourself. That is what I can really say, because I think this is a losing battle for most women, because we will always be held at different standards. For the men being unmarried, that's a good thing. For a woman, what's wrong with you? You don't have children? What is wrong with you? It's not just even in politics. It's even perpetuated by our own mothers sometimes. I am very sure your mother somewhere along the way has asked you, Kingo, when are you getting married? When am I getting grandchildren? So it's not just in politics. It starts from the home. And these are the people who are supposed to be voting for these women. And a country like Rwanda has achieved actually gender equality, has quite a lot of women in parliament. And I was reading about it, and they started these grassroots organizations which actually teach women, and they give them a full package on how to run for office. One of the things it starts with them, make sure you always time keep, because then that is something that can be used against you. They teach them the art of the dress. They teach them the art of presenting yourself, and they give them a package that they do those things in the grassroots. So by the time the woman is standing up, has been equipped to deal with whatever is that is going to come her way.
Wow, thank you for reminding us that actually, yeah, it's true. It's not just in politics alone. It's something that in all sectors, really, even in business, in the corporate world, in other sectors as well. Mary Odhiambo says, of course, we are breaking through that. This is what I am calling psychological packaging. Millie Odhiambo has succeeded, bashed because she is married to a foreigner. Late Laboso made it in her motherland, not where she is married. Wanga has been told several times to go back to her motherland. As long as you are well packaged psychologically, nothing will stop you. Thank you for that, Mary Othiambo. And actually two things that are coming out. And one is related to what Mildred said earlier and what Wanja has just emphasized of the idea that focus, the importance of focus. But even as you're focusing, I think with the awareness of what could come, awareness of what you can expect, I think that makes one better prepared. Amiri says, thank you for the forum. This is a much needed conversation as Kenya prepares for the next general elections. Thank you, Amiri. Namusile says, servant leadership, or is it community social service? This is an aspect of acceptance for political leadership the world over. How much is it a factor for acceptance in our Kenyan milieu? Pamela says, a great pleasure being here with these powerful ladies. We need to build one another and support each other. Women have great minds. They are intelligent and resilient. The thing women have yet to learn is nobody gives you power. You just take it, by Rosianne Barr. Thank you. Thank you. Those are very, very good comments. Bina, we'd also like to hear your perspective. Yes.
Kingwa.
Hey, Bina.
I think also, I think I just wanted to just briefly add that I like what Wanja has just mentioned, but I think the media can also help women, politicians, or rather just female politicians, by not asking questions that they would not ask men. Because if you probably ask someone about their domestic life or how they are juggling, kids and politics, ideally you're assigning that gender role to women, or assuming that, it's just them taking care of kids. Because I mean, even if you're married, actually, it could be that it's your husband who takes care of kids. So why do we have this assumption that, how are you juggling? You know what I mean? So I think the media can also help when you actually have the spotlight, because most of the time we are being told, oh, you know what, please show up for these interviews. You know what I mean? Or not many women are showing up for media interviews, and you're called to probably just for visibility purposes as well. They're like, oh, you know what, go send your ideas. You need to be visible. But then when you get there, number one is, okay, if you're a single mom, it's even worse. So how are you juggling your kids and and work? And I think actually I remember it's interesting, it's both a local and a global issue. I remember even the time, like even when Clinton was running, I think her daughter was pregnant, and it was more of, how is she going, like how will Chelsea's pregnancy affect Clinton's election? My God, I mean, someone like Senator Mitt Romney has 18 grandchildren, 18, not kids, grandchildren already, and they're not asking that of him. So how are you going to juggle all this? You know what I mean? So also the questions we frame, when we also ask women about, even when it comes to their age, I mean, even in the entertainment industry, and not just in politics. When a woman, let's say, turns 50, it's a big deal. When a man turns 50, it's not a big deal. Oh, so how does 50 feel? And that's not the question you're going to level against another man who's also turned 50, perhaps in the same profession, So how does turning 50 feel? So I think also that takes away from us, because then it feeds into the public psyche in terms of how they view us, how they perceive us as leaders. And also I think the fact that this thing of also attaching women to quote unquote powerful men, and emphasizing the fact that they are powerful women because of the connection that they have to these powerful men in politics, it needs to stop. And I think that is why we said, you know what, sell your agenda, sell your agenda, sell your ideas. But while you're doing all this, the external factors, there's us who are supporting these people. We can do so much by not fueling into this narrative that actually brings or affects women's leadership, or diminishes rather female leadership in political spaces. There's so much we can do from the outside as people who are supporting female politicians, but also for the media, in terms of, please ask the right questions as well. It helps.
Thanks.
I was going to say that I've seen this comment by Infinix Hot 9 Play about how you contribute to national politics, but not how you dress is what matters in leadership. Millie Odhiambo was undressed by uncouth men on the floor of the house, yet she has never lost her respect. Why? I would really like to comment on that, because that shows you how she was objectified when she was trying to say something. And because she was so powerful, they were trying to undress her. And what she says was, little did I know that I was wearing trousers underneath. So when they tried pulling up my dress, I already knew how they were going to behave. And that's the strategy I was talking about. She knew this was going to happen. It was going to rain anyway. But this was the arsenal that she had. And still, she was hard. So that is what we were talking about, power of the dress.
Wow, that's powerful, Wanja. I feel that you should be brought into these spaces more, because just really that very strong and grounded confidence that, you know what, whatever will come our way, whatever comes your way, it is manageable. So that's an interesting point. And Pina, I'm going to come back to you to ask about how you handle that whole question of the marriage issue, if it came up for you as something, if it came up as you were going around campaigning and even on the media. It'd be interesting to hear how you handled it and if you thought that was effective, because that would be something that a lot of the women here would be interested to hear about, because that's a question that, especially the ones who are starting out, who might be married or might not, that they are going to face it, and they'd be interested to hear how you handled it. And then also our other participants here, like please, we'd also like to hear your own perspectives. I know some of you have been in politics. I see Beryl. I know Beryl ran in Nairobi, I think on the county ticket. Easter has been very active in Kisumu, as well as others. And Bina, as you were talking about the idea of how women are being, the correlation of how standing next to powerful people, you know, being perceived to be in relationship with powerful people, and how it's something that's problematic. I think Gaki Kyogora is here with us, and we actually had this discussion last week. And she was telling us she had sat in for a couple of trainings where the women leaders were actually being told, be seen as much as possible next to the most powerful men in the party, like be seen, like if the rumors go around that, oh, this is the girlfriend, or this is like it's okay, like fine, like, and they were actually being told that. And in fact, the women themselves, they mentioned how as soon as the rumors started that they were sort of like close with these bigger party leaders, that the kind of bullying and the kind of ill treatment that they would be getting from other members of the party, it like disappeared. So it would be interesting. Yeah, Wanja, what do you think about that? Is that a strategy that women should use? Should they? Is it something useful, or is it something that just does not work at all? And then Mildred, I saw that you had put your hand up, and we're going to come back to you again, as well as anyone else. So participants, please do share your experiences, and yes, on the topic.
I think when it comes to this subject, I remember one of my other favorite quotes is that leave the aspect of gentleness to a chicken laying eggs. You know that this is going to be a tough ride. And I agree. There's something about you being seen, wanting your policies being heard, because sometimes you wonder, who is she? Who are they? But if we can see you, if you're there representing your people, representing what your policy is, it is very, very important. I was on another completely different panel another time. It was discussing about women in sport, and the way that, yes, we all hear a lot about Eliud, but there are other women who have achieved a lot, but we don't get that publicity coming out of them, and who are being encouraged very strongly. Is we go to your social media accounts, there's nothing out there. You're not selling yourself. There is something about us women not selling ourselves. And I remember once where someone said, if you ask a woman to do a job, they know quite a lot about it, and it is not completely related to what they are doing. They say, maybe you should find so-and-so who has this degree in this and specifically has done that. Ask a man who has no degree or any experience about it. They'll fluff it about and take it and go with it. I think we need to stand up as women. We need to be hard, get the confidence and stand out there and speak. Don't ever think that maybe I don't know whether this is going to work. No, there is no man who, I mean, think about when a man is lost and looking for directions. They'll continue going the wrong direction because they are not asking. But a woman, I am not sure. Yet they are very qualified in what they are actually doing. It's having that confidence of saying, yes, this is what I believe in. Yes, I don't agree with inequality. I don't agree in the sexualization and objectification of women. And this is what I am actually going to do. You're not going to deter me. So speak up, stand out, be out there. Don't be a shrinking violet. Because like someone once said, leadership and power is not going to be given to us. You have to take it. So remember, you have to take it. You cannot shrink. You have to stand out there. You have to go there and you have to take it.
Wow, wow, powerful point. Bina, yes.
For me, I'll be very brief, and I think it's. I've also had that in terms of. Gosh, sorry, my fiber is running out of power. Sorry. I've also had that about being associated with powerful figures, but for me, this is all I can say. And in fact, on that note, for me to be brief, I just want to read something that for me guides me. I don't know about another person. So General Norman, the commander of the US-led forces in 1991 in the Iraq War, once said, leadership is a potent combination of strategy and character. But if you must be without one, be without strategy. For me, that anchors me. Like that really, really anchors me. That if you have to be without one, if you have to choose between character and strategy, be without strategy. Because when they share this, it's in light of strategy. And for me, I think what I always tell myself is, okay, fine, I want to push this, agenda, this idea in the political spaces. But ideally, I'm probably going to be in the political spaces for like 10 years. So if I'm elected as the member of parliament today, and then I only serve 2 terms, and then I'm never going to go back to the political spaces, and I've already stained my name. When it comes to women, like washing off these stains is so hard. Like we always see like someone, I think, did something, I think 10 years ago, when they're speaking, they're like, no, there's nothing you're telling us. You're a sellout. You sold the country. They don't tell men about that most of the time. Oh, we know you. We saw you in Mombasa, those pictures. But the same man you were seen with does not bear, the pain that comes with that stain. So I think washing off that stain is so hard. And that's why for me, I have always said, if you have to be without one between character and strategy, be without strategy, for sure, be without strategy. But like I said, that is me, because at the end of the day, protect your reputation as much as you can. Because for some reason, look at even the women we admire, look at the Michelle Obamas of this world that we admire. And I think for me, I worry that at times you meet powerful women, but then their achievements are reduced to who they are dating. I really, really, really worry, their achievements, what they've been able to accomplish, their mobilization in terms of their community engagement, what they've done for their communities. And the fact that when they try and speak, that is reduced to who they are seeing, who they are dating, or you get this powerful position, then they're like, oh, Governor so-and-so's wife, or so-and-so's, second wife, and they don't even use your title. Yet you've gotten that particular title by sheer merit. By the fact that, look at you, Kingwa, you're an Oxford graduate. How many women really, really, really admire and want to even just finish university here in the country, let alone go to Oxford? Like people admire and really, really want to get those spaces to that particular level, and for that to be diluted and to be reduced to who you're saying because you want to win something. No, I think we would rather advise in terms of exploring alternative methods than actually going down that route. But again, it's a personal opinion.
I love that. I love that because what you're saying, you're talking about principle-centered leadership, principle-focused leadership, which is what is missing from the leadership today, from the politics today, which is what we are all actually pursuing and trying to find ways together. So I really appreciate that, and I appreciate you for really standing strong, because in this political space, having principles is almost like an illness. So well done, and well done for just really continuing standing strong, and what you're doing, because you're standing in the gap for a lot of young women. You're leading a movement, whether you know it or not. You really are doing something very powerful. Just going to read two more comments, and then Mildred had wanted to say something, so we'll also give her the opportunity. So Tony says, Tony Mochama says, when it comes to women and leadership and relations, a Wonder Woman triangulation is suddenly required. If single, she is seen as some Western type eccentric. Divorcee, she's seen as a domestic dominatrix who, having flopped at marriage, how dare you try manage a constituency? And in brackets, Martha Wangai Maathai defied this. If married, expected to be intense, active, ever available to her people, yet a gracious and tiring and selfless partner to the man. That's so well stated, Tony, the Wonder Woman idea. And then CR says, Stacey Abrams is a powerhouse, but in the US, the issue of racism denied her, in my opinion, the governorship, underlying racism, so-called gender roles, and the idea that women are meant to be seen and not heard is what pushes women out of the political realm. Hillary Clinton, some people had issues with her since she stood by her husband during the infidelity. I agree women in politics need to play a huge role since they are a majority in the workplace, pay more in taxes, and build the economy. And I want to really appreciate some more Pina on just really that reminder about character, the reminder on principle focusedness, and then also what Mildred had talked about ideology and focus. Because the method that you use to get somewhere is what will determine how you stay there. If it's not organic, then you're not going to survive long. If it's not people-centered, if it's not, and what Wanja also said about be yourself, like if you're not yourself, you're going to crash. You're just going to be a house of cards that's going to crash and will not be sustainable. Mildred, are you still there? I see that you still had your hand up. Would you like us to bring you back on, Mildred? In the meantime, Wanja or Bina can just feel free to respond to just some of the concerns coming up.
Actually, Mildred is on now.
Can you hear me? I see it's a bit unstable. Is this okay?
Yeah.
So I have this quote I can't attribute right now that speaks to me right now as we speak. You will never follow your own inner voice until you clear up the doubts in your mind. You will never follow your own inner voice until you clear up the doubts in your mind. And I want to speak to my African sisters. So I'm going African because as a Pan-Africanist, I have to keep that in focus. That as African women and girls, we were brought up being taught how to sit. Cover your legs, don't put your legs apart. How to eat, don't open your mouth too much. Girls don't eat like that. How to speak, don't raise your voice. Girls are not supposed to be heard. How to walk in a straight line with the shoulder up because people are not supposed to see. Who to marry, who to talk. And please, for the women political leaders or any leader who's coming on board as a leader, I like to push them to put up what I call the trash can checklist near the trash can of the questions that you're going to be asked as you stand up and say, I want to run for office. They will ask you, but who's your father? Did your father give you permission? Who are you married to? Where did he come from? Where is your clan? Who are you representing? How many children have you had? Have you had any children? Do you know how to cook? Who's taking care of your house when you run? How much money do you have? Who's paying for your rent? Who bought you that car? Please note, none of these questions are asked to men. So I encourage women political leaders, put up the trash can checklist at the corner of the trash can, so that you know that this is the trash can, this is the list that you're going to throw into the trash as you step out. Because if you carry it in your handbag, it's going to disorient you and you're not going to focus. But I also like telling my African sisters that you have to pull back into understanding history of the women on whose shoulders we stand, because we speak because they fought. Back then, in the in the years when history and colonialism, of course, was patriarchal, because these women were not even brought out for us to understand in our history. Ask yourself that the legendary Wangwa Makeri, when she was rising up to do whatever it is she did, who taught her? You see, and so I actually own, and I was not taught T-shirt, courtesy of Martha Karua. And I love the statement, extremely powerful for our women in leadership. Wear it and say, I was not taught. All these things that society expects us to be taught, quote to quote, so that it can stop women from rising, from leading, from talking. Please pause and understand the history of Anikula Pokuti, all the way in Nigeria, where she rose, first woman to drive a car, but that's not the legend, the legend that she is. She ran for political office. Go down and find out about Bititi, that Tanzania celebrates Nyerere, but they don't celebrate the woman who taught him how to speak, because Bititi actually put the words into. How do we pull out this history to encourage us to move forward when we are feeling like we're staggering and we can't stand? We go back and understand why Robert Mugabe is Robert Mugabe, not because of the Mugabe that he is, but because of Sally, the woman that he got from Ghana, who taught him how to be political to his people and speak to his people and lead the resistance, who across the continent. History teaches us that these women were not there. History lies, because history in its colonial nature, patriarchal nature, denied these women the chance to shine and to rise. What excites me about the era we are living in now, and that's why this conversation is so empowering and so affirming, is that we are in a space where women can speak out, and we have seen the fallacy and the lie, and we are calling it out. That is what Kamala Harris has just done, calling it out. And when she powerfully says, I am the first, yes, but I am not going to be the last. She knows that now the chicken have come back to roost. At this point, the chicken are us women taking up leadership spaces. We will lead with power, with zeal, with confidence when we know who we are. And I am affirming what Wanja says. When you have understood who you are, why you are, and where you're going, and that starts from identity. And I would very much love to address that maybe at some point in this forum, that women have to understand that question of identity is so critical. I couple up as a hope activist and as a placenta activist. Please, and I can expound on that, because we have to understand who we are and where we are going, and call on the spirits of the legendary women who've gone ahead of us to walk with us as we rise, as we move, because the stones come from everywhere, and they don't stop. So please, let us not kid ourselves that after we have known how to dress, that after we have known how to speak, that it's going to be kinder. No, it ain't gonna be kinder. Keep looking at that checklist that you have built up, that people are going to ask. My God, they even ask who you are. Wait for the trash that's gonna come out for Kamala Harris. They're gonna smoke out her last 5 boyfriends before she got married. They're gonna smoke out who she dated in school. They've already started, and it's crap, but they're not gonna do the same for Joe Biden. They will not. So we have to be aware of the hostility of patriarchy out there. It's real. It's real. We are always being told that, oh, women are making, It is real. We have to be aware. That awareness will help us to forge forward. So I affirm this conversation. It's important. But as we do it, let us remain rooted to identifying who we are. You know, when you know who you are, nobody's going to pull you down. They'll throw everything, but you know you. You have encountered you. You've walked into self. You have encountered the Wanja inside me, who nobody knows and sees. And so when you open your mouth with the Wanja inside you, with the Pina inside you, that nobody has, and you go without fear. And if there's fear, you do it scared anyway. You know, this is the power and the confidence we need to instill into our women. I am a mother of daughters. I get excited when I look at them. They are lucky to be in a space where we have our voices. They keep saying, oh, but we have to give women. Everybody was born with a voice. The question is, were they listening when women were speaking? We were all born with a voice. So I refuse when they say, you have to give women the voice to, who's giving us a voice? We all were born with a voice. Are they listening? Are they listening? When patriarchy doesn't listen, they say, but women are not. So we have to be very aware of this. And I am so aware, it shocks me. I laugh, I smile. I'm aware of patriarchy in the supermarket. I'm aware of patriarchy at the doctor's office. I'm aware of patriarchy in the matatu. I'm aware of patriarchy when I'm filling a form in the bank. I'm aware of, we have to be that aware that every time you are as a woman, you're ready. You're ready because you're enough. You know it's there. When the enemy is there lacking, you got to be aware. So I have found this. It's important. We have to pull it. Every time I stand to speak, I call upon the spirits of the women strewn across 55 countries in this continent, 55, not 54, including Western Sahara. We know that. They are there. They have been uncelebrated, undocumented. History has been unkind, but they are there. They rose this continent. They continue rising it every day. And so we have to call on to those spirits. And those spirits can be your great-great-grandmother, who you never knew of, but who at some point in that small village remotely in the Bundus stood up and said, Apana, you are not going to take this land because I've been cultivating on this Shaba for years. It was given to, she spoke. Ask Martha Karua. She will tell you that the matriarch in her circle is her grandmother, who taught her, you with your big eyes, when you put them out there, you're going to speak and people will listen. So how did they know? So ask yourself as a woman leader, whose spirit, which legends do you carry with you as you walk along? They could be undocumented, they could be documented, it doesn't matter. Who do you carry to the room when you stand there to lead? Because they are there. They're there.
Wow. Thank you, Mildred. Like, you have blessed us. Like, I was feeling such energy coming into me as you were talking. Like, you speak words of life and you speak words of power, and we just bless you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. And we have to have you here with us again the next time. I love your fire. I appreciate your fire, and thank you for your fire. A lot of the time the fire dies out, so it's always good to have it replenished. You've said a lot of really important and powerful things, but the one word that remains is a word of identity, because identity and image are very closely related, because identity is a place of authenticity. And where it's just an empty image, there's no sustainability there. And it goes back to what Wanja was saying about being yourself. It goes back to what Pina was saying about character as opposed to just strategy. So I really love how that all ties in together, and that at the end of the day we ask ourselves identity. And even us as women in politics, the question of why are we in politics? What are we doing in politics? And someone said that first, to be a woman to even dare to be in politics, like there has to be something really disturbing you to get you in and to keep you in. So the women in politics are visionaries. I am yet to meet an unvisionary woman in politics. But yet is that what patriarchy does is that it tries to put women in boxes whereby your vision is not supposed to be seen in the world. Your vision is not supposed to be let out. And so that's what we are doing. That's what we are doing in encouraging women in politics and really in trying to empower them and just create a space where their visions can come out. Because where a vision doesn't come out, it's going to implode. And that's why when I see the mad people walking on the streets naked, I say that's a visionary who was not allowed to let their vision come out, who was not allowed to allow their full potential to really come out strongly and manifest in the world. So thank you so much. We have 5 minutes to the end of this discussion, but so I'll just read some of the comments, and then we'll take a last closing words from Wanja and Bina. So Bernadette says, glad to be here. Women cannot be stopped. Women must speak out, move, and get it right. Pamela Nchoro says, since creation, we were depicted as controversial creations. It's up to us to decide whether to make a universal change or swim in self-pity. The strongest women I know are those who have accepted their fragility and worked with it because they know that it is part of their journey. That's powerful and that's profound. Thank you, Pamela. Then Bina says, start a civic consciousness chat, Mildred. We're here for it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, just such fire, such consciousness. It's needed. It's needed even in what we're doing in trying to just get women together, build up consciousness. What Mildred had talked about, ideology, the ideology for women as political leaders, because that's something that has been missing. And we can see that it's been missing because when you see women divided according to ethnic groups, to be divided according to different political units, that they're not, what women are working towards, because we are affected. When a society is in dysfunction, we are affected in ways more than anyone else. So yeah, just to close, maybe to give Wanja and Bina the opportunity to just give their closing remarks about moving forward, this whole question of packaging, of image, of identity, moving forward. What do we do? And also, what are you doing that we can latch onto, that we can be involved in, that we could participate in, that you're running, yeah, really that we can strengthen each other, because a big part of it also is about networks. And so also the participants just drop in whatever initiatives you're up to and invite everyone to come on board. So yes, Karibu Wanja.
I think as women, we always have to recognize that women are still not completely welcome into the halls of power and government. And to realize as a woman, for men, power dressing is by default. That is what is expected. It's a dark suit. That is your presentation. And you cannot ignore your presentation if you're going to get ahead in politics. The other thing I would say is you can use your femininity as an arsenal. We have seen what, for example, Winnie Mandela did. When she was the first lady, she wore the frilly dresses. When she was going for campaigning, she was the fist-pumping Che Guevara who was going on. When she was going against apartheid, she wore her traditional dress. That was her own means of communication, and people knew what communication they have. We have an arsenal on how we can get ahead in power. Remember, it's not just about how you dress, it's how you package yourself as well. It's knowing who you are and not being deterred. Look at femininity as a way to get yourself ahead, because in a power of masculinity and femininity, men never even pretend to be women to get ahead. Why do we have to pretend to be men in order to get ahead? So just know yourself and go for what it is that you are after.
Thank you so much, Wanja. Guys, if you are looking for a stylist, I highly recommend Wanja. Her list of clients, she's refused me to say them because like they're so high level, but you see this dress that I'm wearing, she was the one who helped me pick it up some years back. I should like stand up and show you guys, but she, I actually wanted to commemorate that. Yeah, so she's been, I used to dress like a Christmas tree. So thank you, Wanja. So a lot of you guys, if you need to consult, look for Wanja. On what are your handles? Social media, how can people find you?
I'll put it on chat.
Wow, wonderful. And Bina?
Oh my God, what do you mean a Christmas tree? Sure.
She will tell you, I used to have like earrings from here to Timbuktu, necklaces.
Oh my God. I think I first of all want to say thank you for this particular conversation. As always, there's always so much to take away from these spaces, even when we are invited as panelists. It's always good to really listen and learn from Mildred. I tell her to start a church because anytime I meet with her, I feel like I don't stop writing. I feel like I need to meet her with a big book all the time when we've had personal conversations. So that's why I was saying, please start a church to that effect. But then I'll probably just be brief and say, one, for us, what we are doing is we are working with young women in terms of just raising their civic consciousness and just creating awareness in terms of their political power as citizens. So we work with young women in universities and in urban informal settlement, and we also work with Chama women in urban informal settlement. So that is what we are currently doing. And we're also currently having a digital advocacy program. I think we've also seen all the reports that have been circulating in terms of how online abuse is driving young women, especially out of online spaces at a time when COVID-19 has necessitated and moved most aspects of our lives online, increasing the importance of communicating online. So I think there also has never been a better time to deal and handle the digital gender divide. If we are to embrace digital transformation as a way of life, and to still stick to social isolation if you're to flatten the COVID-19 curve. So I think that is what we are doing. But then I think I don't want to dive in again into identity, principles, character, ideology, because I say that Wanja, rightly put it, Mildred as well. I'll just again read a quote. I think Mildred just inspires me to look at my role models as well across the country. And there's this one who always inspires me. She's called Mbuya Nehanda, and she's a resistance heroine from Zimbabwe. As in, she led those guys, like when they were fighting for their independence. And when the British captured her, I think other, part of her history, there's part of it that says that she was skinned alive. But anyway, when she was being killed, in front of the public, these were her words. She said, "My bones will rise again. My bones will rise again. Her bones will never rise again if me and you watch things from the sidelines and do nothing about it." Thank you.
Amen. I love that. I love that. And great work you're doing, Bina. All the best. The participants, those I know, some of you here who are with mainstream civil society organizations, look for her and partner with her. I know I've seen a funder, someone in the funding space as well, one or two. Also, Richard, follow up with what Bina is doing with Badily Africa. Very, very innovative, very mind-blowing stuff, very powerful stuff. And think something that hasn't been done in civil society before and in politics before, a new sort of organizing, creating a new constituency, a constituency that has been ignored for a long time, and that's a constituency of young men. So Bina, thank you so much. Thank you for being here and all the amazing work that you're doing. Yes, and keep on doing it. I feel so tempted to just give Mildred a minute to end. Just so we can go blessed by your fire, Mildred. Last words. Bernadette, we won't be able to have you speak. Maybe just put it in the chat. Mildred,
thank you. Okay, thank you, King. I feel so honored, Asante. I really appreciate this. And when you say that, I see the face of Maya Angelou. I see the face of Maya Angelou advising Oprah Winfrey at some point when Oprah asked her, "What is it? What kind of advice can you give me?" And her words were very powerful. I still live by them. She said, as you go along, as you do whatever you need to do, just to paraphrase what she said, as you go along, there's a place in your heart that you have to keep pristine. You keep it far away from anything or anybody who might want to destroy you, to hurt you. Put it pristine. And I'm holding my heart right now because she said, keep it away from everything else. So I know what pulls us down as women when somebody says something hurtful, or when somebody just tears into your reputation, or somebody tears into your family or into your personality, and it kills you inside. And you feel like, I can't even wake up tomorrow to face the day. I can't even pursue this ambition I have to lead. Remember what Maya said, because Maya told her, keep it pristine. And if anybody wants to get near there, you say, back off. This place, you can't get there. And it's a place that is your own, where you will always go back to pull back your strength. So as a woman, you need that place that is pristine inside you, in your heart. Whatever they say, whatever they throw at you, you look at that place and say, but I got that place. I got that clean place. I'm going to keep quiet there and wake up tomorrow and face it. So I am living by that. It is my parting shot in this discussion, but not the end. I really want to participate. And I thank you, King, for not giving up on me, that you send the link sometimes and I'm not able to join. Thank you for not giving up on me. So when I saw the invitation today, I said, thank you, King. I want to come in, and I'm sitting here and responding. I appreciate the discussions. And in my heart, I am urging that you keep that place. And it's not only for leadership, it's for the lives we lead. It's for the things you encounter. It's for the dirt that's thrown at you. So when it's thrown, remember that place in your heart. You have to cultivate it. where you say, no, I ain't gonna let this go in. It's not gonna go in. I have this clean place. It's my place of peace. It's my place of continuity, my place of love. It ain't gonna go in. So that you refuse, because when you let it go in, it destroys you. So look for that pristine place in your heart as a leader, as a woman, as you encounter all the challenges, as you take up the day as they come. Look at it and hide it in there, that absolutely nothing will get to you when they throw it at you. And it's gonna come. Some will get to you, but where is that pristine place that you will keep for yourself so you don't sink? Love and light to you all, my sisters.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Mildred. I think the honor really was ours. You've just really infused a lot of fire, a lot of spirit. You've come with a lot of spirit and infused it. And even if we weren't able to have Honorable Sholei and Ambassador Orierogo, maybe it was even fate, destiny, because like you've just taken us to a whole new level, and we have to, like, I will actually look for you after this. And also, guys, Mildred Ngesa is the author of a book. It's called Black Tipped Nipples, so you can look for it. She's in the communication space. I know she works very closely with Femininity. I think she's the head of communications. So if you're looking for a consultant, a communications consultant, Mildred is your person. So we are sadly at the end of this. Just last comments. Forever Young said women should instill power of confidence in all sectors. Josephine Mukuma said insightful, happy to be here. Forever Young said women should love one another to succeed. Bernadette says we must stand as one tribe of as women. Mildred says wonderful panelists, absolutely, great discussions. And Wanja and Bina have both shared their contacts, so please guys take them down and be in touch. So thank you everyone immensely, Wanja and Bina, for and Mildred, because you became like an official panelist, just really sharing your views very honestly and very candidly, and just bringing some additional insight to this space. So thank you for all you are doing, all you have been doing. We appreciate you, we celebrate you. Thank you for our participants for just really remaining with us, even and being patient, because we started late, and remaining with us, even as we've taken like 8 minutes. But yeah, so thank you, and let's keep talking. For us, it's about organizing, it's about keeping the community and just keeping the fire burning. So next, we are meeting on the 26th of this month, where we'll be talking about women and the women in politics and how they are presented in the media. So wish you all the best in the meantime, and have a great evening, everyone. Thank you so much. All right, bye guys. Okay, so Wanja and Bina, Jeanette is gonna be in touch. Let me first of all.
Has everyone left? Thanks for the conversation.
I think we have, yeah, we have so we're no longer on.
It says live on